throwaway because some of our mutual friends use Reddit. I, 34M, have been married to my wife, 32F, for 6 years. Together for 9. No kids. Up until recently, I genuinely thought we were solid. Not perfect, we argued, sure, but the kind of arguments couples survive. Bills. Work stress. Whose turn it was to clean the kitchen. Normal stuff. But about 6 months ago, something shifted. It started small. She got sharper with me. Not just annoyed, sharp. Every question felt like I was being cross-examined. If I asked how her day was, she'd snap. Why do you care all of a sudden? If I came home late from work, she'd accuse me of acting suspicious, even though my schedule hadn't changed in years. The weird part? She also became weirdly protective of her phone. Like overnight. This was someone who used to leave it on the kitchen counter without a thought. Suddenly it was always face down. Always in her pocket. Bathroom trips got longer. Showers with her phone playing music inside. If I walked into the room unexpectedly, she'd lock the screen so fast it felt rehearsed. When I asked about it, she laughed in my face. Wow. Paranoid much? She started staying out later too. Work drinks. Networking. Girls' night. The explanations were always delivered with this edge, like I was stupid for even questioning it. And if I pressed? She'd flip it. You're insecure. You're suffocating. Maybe if you weren't so distant, I wouldn't need space. That word, space, became her favorite. I kept telling myself marriages have phases. Stress does weird things to people. I didn't want to be that guy who jumps to conclusions. I trusted her. I loved her. And honestly, I was scared of what it would mean if my gut feeling was right. Looking back, that was the first mistake. Because around the same time she started accusing me of being distant, she stopped touching me. No random hugs. No sitting close on the couch. If I reached for her at night, she'd sigh like I was asking for a favor. But then, out of nowhere, she'd be overly affectionate. Almost performative. Cook my favorite dinner. Laugh too loud at my jokes. Post pictures of us online with captions like, "Forever Red Heart." It felt staged. I remember one specific night. She came home past midnight. Smelled like a different perfume. Not hers. I asked about it casually. She didn't miss a beat. "Oh, Sarah spilled something on me." "God, you're dramatic." I apologized. That's the headspace I was in. Trying to be the reasonable husband. Trying not to rock the boat. Ignoring the feeling in my chest that something wasn't just off, it was wrong. At that point, I still thought we were just going through a rough patch. I had no idea how wrong I was. So here's where things stopped being just a vibe and started being concrete. About 3 weeks after the perfume thing, she left her laptop open on the dining table. That alone wasn't unusual. She works hybrid and sometimes answers emails at home. What was unusual was that she'd been glued to that laptop all week but suddenly shut it any time I walked into the room. That night she ran to the store to grab wine. Said she'd be back in 15 minutes. 40 minutes passed. I wasn't planning to snoop. I swear. I hate that cliché. But her laptop pinged, like a message notification, and my stomach dropped. Not because I knew something, but because my body reacted before my brain did. I looked. It wasn't even hidden. A messaging app open in the browser. A name I didn't recognize. Let's call him. The preview line was enough to make my hands shake. Can't stop thinking about last night. I just stared at it. My brain tried to invent explanations. Maybe it's a joke. Maybe it's sarcasm. Maybe last night was a work thing. Maybe. Then another message popped up while I was looking at the screen. Did he suspect anything? I felt physically cold. Like someone poured ice down my spine. I clicked. I know. I shouldn't have. But I did. The thread went back months. Flirty at first. Inside jokes. Complaints about me. Screenshots of arguments we'd had, sent to him. Her calling me clingy and predictable. Him saying she deserved better. Then it escalated. Hotel confirmations. Explicit messages. Photos, not fully nude, but intimate enough that I had to slam the laptop shut. The worst part? The timestamps. The night she accused me of being distant? She had sent him. I miss you already. The night she told me she needed space? She'd booked a room 20 minutes from our house. I just sat there. Heart pounding so loud I thought I might pass out. And then, because apparently the universe likes drama, my phone buzzed. It was her. Why aren't you answering? I'm still at the store. Relax. Relax. I looked at the clock. She'd been gone over an hour now. I don't know what possessed me, but I typed back. Take your time. 3 dots appeared immediately. Then disappeared. Then she replied. K. Just that. Suddenly everything made sense. The sharpness. The gaslighting. The way she flipped every suspicion back on me. She wasn't just distant, she was covering something. And doing it with such confidence that I started doubting my own sanity. When she got home, she walked in smiling. Acting normal. Kissed my cheek. And I swear to God, I almost threw up. I didn't confront her that night. I just looked at her and realized I didn't know who she was anymore. But I also realized something else. She thought she was smarter than me. She thought I'd never find out. And that's when something inside me shifted. I didn't sleep that night. Next morning, she was acting completely normal. Making coffee. Humming. Asked if I wanted toast. I just said, "Who's M?" Silence. Like full movie scene silence. Her back stiffened. She didn't turn around. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. Are you serious right now? I told her I saw the messages. Her face changed instantly. Not guilt. Not fear. Anger. You went through my stuff? Wow. That's low. Classic. Flip it on me. I said I saw the hotel confirmation. The texts. The last night messages. She rolled her eyes and said, "It's not what you think." I asked, "Then what is it?" She said they were just talking. That the hotel was for a work event. That the messages were taken out of context. Every sentence was a different version of the story. She contradicted herself 3 times in 2 minutes. When I mentioned the photos, she went cold. Then sharp. Maybe if you actually paid attention to me, I wouldn't have needed someone to talk to. There it was. Blame. I asked her directly. Did you sleep with him? Long pause. Then, why does that even matter now? That's when I knew. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just felt this weird, hollow calm. Like the explosion already happened and I was standing in the smoke. She kept talking. Saying it just happened. Saying it was a mistake. Saying I'd been distant for months. Saying she didn't mean for it to go this far. But here's the thing, it didn't feel like a mistake. It felt planned. Months of lies. Booking rooms. Deleting messages. Accusing me so I wouldn't suspect her. I asked how long. She said, "A few weeks." I told her I saw messages from months ago. She went quiet again. Another lie. I realized in that moment I wasn't just dealing with cheating. I was dealing with someone who could look me in the eye and lie without blinking. And that hurt more than anything. I always thought if I ever got cheated on, I'd explode. Rage. Throw something. Storm out. Instead, I just shut down. After that conversation, she grabbed her keys and said she needed air. Which is ironic, because I was the one who felt like I couldn't breathe. She left me standing in the kitchen like some side character in my own life. About 30 minutes later, I got a notification from our bank. A $247 charge at a boutique hotel. For that night. Not months ago. Not in the past. That night. While she was getting air. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was so absurd it felt scripted. I texted her. Are you with him right now? She didn't answer. 10 minutes later she replied. You're being insane. I'm at a friend's. I checked the charge again. Same hotel chain as the confirmations I saw in the messages. I sent her a screenshot. No reply. An hour later she called me, furious. How dare you track my spending? How dare you invade my privacy? You're controlling. Controlling. While she was actively cheating on me. At some point in that call, I just stopped arguing. I said, if you're with him, just tell me. She didn't deny it. She just said, I don't owe you a play-by-play of my life. That sentence will probably live in my head forever. Because that's when it hit me, she wasn't sorry. She was mad she got caught. And I sat there alone in our house, the house we picked together, painted together, staring at the couch where we used to binge-watch shows, realizing she was probably in a hotel room 20 minutes away with another man. I didn't sleep. Again. Around 2 a.m., she came home. Didn't say where she'd been. Didn't apologize. Just went to the bedroom and shut the door. And something inside me broke quietly. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just snapped. I stopped trying to fix it. The next morning felt unreal. She walked into the kitchen like nothing had happened. No apology. No explanation. Just, we need to talk calmly. Calmly. I asked her straight up if she stayed at that hotel. She sighed. Sat down. Crossed her arms. Okay. Yes. I saw him. But it wasn't what you think. That line again. Apparently, what I think was worse than what actually happened, which, according to her new version, was that they just talked. In a hotel room. At night. After months of messages. Sure. When I pointed out the pattern, the lies, the bookings, the gaslighting, she switched tactics. I was confused. You've been emotionally unavailable. I didn't know how to tell you I was unhappy. Suddenly the narrative was about her pain. I asked how long it had been physical. Long pause. 2 months. I reminded her the messages went back 5. Another pause. Okay, fine. Longer. Every answer had to be dragged out. Every truth came in fragments. It was like interrogating someone who thought they could outlast you. Then she said something that honestly hurt more than the cheating. I didn't think you'd ever actually find out. That's when it hit me how calculated this was. This wasn't a drunken mistake. This was logistics. Planning. Lies stacked on lies. I asked if she loved him. She hesitated. Not even a quick no. A hesitation. Then, I don't know. That broke me more than anything else. Because until that moment, some stupid part of me still thought we were fighting for our marriage. That maybe she'd snap out of it, apologize, beg to fix it. Instead, she looked detached. Like she was evaluating options. And here's the twist I didn't see coming. She asked if we could open the marriage. I actually thought she was joking. She wasn't. She said maybe we'd both be happier. Not restricting each other. That monogamy was outdated. That I was making this a bigger deal than it needs to be. After months of lies, she wanted to rebrand it as a lifestyle choice. That's when the anger finally hit. Not explosive. Just clear. I told her I never agreed to share my wife. She said, well, maybe that's the problem. And in that moment, I realized she wasn't trying to fix what she broke. She was trying to justify it. And I had to decide whether I was going to keep arguing with someone who rewrote reality every time it suited her, or finally accept that the woman I married wasn't standing in front of me anymore. After the open marriage conversation, something shifted in me. Not in a dramatic, empowering way. More like exhaustion. I felt like I'd been running a marathon for months and just realized I'd been running in the wrong direction. That night we barely spoke. She scrolled on her phone like nothing was happening. I kept wondering if she was texting him while sitting 5 feet away from me. At one point I asked, "Are you still seeing him?" She didn't even look up. "It's complicated." Complicated. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because the absurdity finally caught up to me. We were married. 6 years? And she was describing her affair like a relationship status on social media. Then came another twist. Around 11 p.m., her phone buzzed on the coffee table. She'd gone to the bathroom and, for once, left it behind. I wasn't even trying to snoop, the screen lit up. His name. With a heart emoji. My chest physically tightened. The preview message read, "Miss you already? Last night was worth the risk." Worth the risk. I didn't even think. I picked up the phone and opened the conversation. She hadn't locked it yet. More messages from that same night. Laughing about how clueless I was. Her saying she felt alive again. Him joking that I'd probably never grow a spine. That one stuck. Because the worst part? For months I hadn't. I kept apologizing. Kept doubting myself. Kept trying to be the reasonable one while she lied to my face. She walked back in and froze when she saw me holding her phone. "What the hell are you doing?" I didn't yell. I just read one of the messages out loud. Her face went pale for half a second, then hardened. "You're invading my privacy again." Again. Not. "I'm sorry." Not. This got out of hand. Just anger that I had evidence. I handed the phone back and said, "You called me insecure. You called me paranoid. You made me think I was crazy." She shot back, "Maybe if you weren't so weak, I wouldn't have needed someone stronger." That was the first time her words actually made me feel small. And I hate admitting that. Because in that moment I wasn't just hurt, I was questioning my own worth. Wondering if I really had been lacking. If I drove her to this. That's what betrayal does. It doesn't just break trust. It breaks your perception of yourself. I went to sleep on the couch. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to the sound of her quietly leaving the house again. No note. No explanation. Just the front door closing. And this time, I didn't text her. I just lay there in the dark and realized I was grieving someone who was still alive, someone who clearly didn't feel the same loss. The next morning, she came home around 7 a.m. Like she just finished a normal night shift. I was still on the couch. Didn't sleep much. Just stared at the ceiling, replaying everything. Every argument. Every time she called me insecure. Every apology I made for things I didn't even do. She walked in, kicked off her shoes, and said, "We can't keep doing this." Like I was the chaos. I asked where she'd been. She shrugged. Out. That was it. No details. No guilt. Just out. I told her I saw the heart emoji. The messages. The jokes about me. About me being clueless. About me not having a spine. She didn't deny it. Instead, she said, "You're focusing on the wrong thing." I honestly didn't know how to respond to that. The wrong thing? The betrayal? The lies? The humiliation? Then she dropped another bomb. She said she told him she might leave me. Not. She was confused. Not. She needed space. She was actively discussing a future without me. And I hadn't even been told the marriage was over. That's when it hit me. I wasn't in a failing marriage. I was in a marriage that had already ended. I was just the last one to get the memo. I asked her, "Do you even want this marriage?" Long pause. "I don't know." That, "I don't know," felt heavier than a yes or no ever could. Because it meant I was an option. A fallback. A maybe. And something inside me snapped into clarity. I realized I'd been fighting for someone who wasn't fighting for me. I'd been trying to prove I was worth staying with, while she was already testing a replacement. For the first time since all this started, I didn't feel rage. I felt tired. I told her I couldn't live like this. I couldn't compete for my own wife. I couldn't wake up wondering where she was or who she was texting. She looked almost annoyed. So what are you saying? I took a breath and said the words I'd been terrified of. I think we need to separate. And for the first time, she didn't argue. She just said, maybe that's for the best. No tears. No panic. No fight. Just agreement. And somehow, that hurt more than everything else combined. You'd think once we agreed to separate, things would calm down. They didn't. The second I started actually acting like we were separating, looking at short-term rentals, calling a lawyer for a consultation, she flipped. Suddenly I was giving up too easily. Suddenly I was throwing away 9 years. Suddenly I was cold. Cold. This from the person who spent the night in a hotel while married. I told her I thought separation was what she wanted. She said, I didn't mean like this. Like what? With consequences? Then came another twist I didn't expect. She said she'd ended it with him. Just like that. Supposedly done. Over. Blocked. I didn't believe her, and honestly, that realization crushed me in a different way. I used to trust her without thinking. Now every word felt like a setup. I asked why she ended it. She said, because I realized I still love you. And here's the messed up part. Some small, stupid, hopeful part of me felt relief. That's the emotional whiplash of betrayal. 1 second you're done. The next you're wondering if maybe this can still be saved. But then, because apparently stability isn't allowed in my life, her phone buzzed while we were having that exact conversation. She glanced at it. Her face changed. I asked who it was. She said, no one. I said, show me. She refused. So I asked again, did you really end it? She exploded. Started yelling about trust. About privacy. About how I'll never move forward if I keep digging. Which told me everything I needed to know. Later that night, while she was in the shower, I checked our shared phone plan online. Dozens of calls to the same number that day. After she supposedly ended it. That was the moment something inside me went from broken to done. Not dramatic. Not vengeful. Just done. I stopped asking questions. Stopped arguing. Stopped reacting. She noticed immediately. And weirdly, that's when she started crying. She said I felt distant. Said I was shutting her out. Said she was scared. And all I could think was, this is exactly how I felt for months. Only when I was scared, she called me insecure. When I was hurting, she called me weak. Now that I was pulling away, now it mattered. And I realized something brutal. She didn't miss me. She missed control. Once I emotionally checked out, everything looked different. The house didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a stage set where we were pretending to be a married couple while quietly preparing exit plans. We started sleeping in separate rooms. Not officially, it just happened. She'd stay up late on her phone. I'd go to bed early or crash on the couch. The silence between us was heavier than the fighting ever was. And here's the part that surprised me. The anger started fading. In its place was grief. Not just for the affair, but for the version of us I thought we were. For the woman I believed I married. For the future I pictured, kids, vacations, growing old together. All of that felt like smoke now. One night she tried to cuddle up next to me. Out of nowhere. Like muscle memory kicked in. I froze. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because it didn't feel safe anymore. Physical closeness felt fake. Like a performance. She whispered, I miss us. And I realized something painful. I did too. But us didn't exist anymore. I asked her one last time, calmly, if she had truly cut contact with him. She said yes. I asked if she'd be willing to show me her phone. She hesitated. That hesitation told me more than any confession ever could. She handed it over eventually, but I could see she'd deleted messages. Call logs wiped. Chat threads missing. She said, "You're looking for reasons not to trust me." I said, "You gave me those reasons." There was no screaming this time. Just two exhausted people standing in the wreckage. That night, I sat alone and really let myself feel it. The humiliation. The betrayal. The fact that she laughed about me with another man. That part still stings in a way I can't fully explain. But underneath all of it was something new. Self-respect. For months I bent myself into whatever shape would keep the peace. I doubted my instincts. I apologized for things that weren't mine to fix. Now I saw it clearly. Love without respect isn't love. And trust, once shattered this thoroughly, doesn't magically rebuild because someone says, "I'll try." I started imagining life without her. And for the first time since this started, the idea didn't terrify me. It felt quiet. And that quiet felt like the beginning of something healthier. I thought I was prepared for anything at that point. I wasn't. About a week after I emotionally checked out, she sat me down and said she had one last thing to be honest about. Whenever someone says that, it means there are at least 5 more things behind it. She admitted the affair didn't start 5 months ago. It started almost a year ago. A year. While we were celebrating our anniversary. While we were planning a vacation. While she was telling me she loved me. I just stared at her. She said it wasn't serious at first. That it was just emotional. That it evolved. I didn't even react. Then she said something that actually made my hands shake. He wasn't the only one. Apparently there was someone else before him. Short-lived. Didn't mean anything. Didn't mean anything. I felt this wave of nausea roll through me. It wasn't even jealousy at that point. It was the realization that my reality for the past year had been fiction. All those nights she accused me of being paranoid? She was cheating. All those times she said I was distant? She was splitting her energy between multiple men. And the wildest part? She said she finally confessed because she wanted a clean slate. A clean slate. After lying for a year. I asked her very calmly, "Is there anything else I don't know?" She said no. But here's the thing about being lied to repeatedly, you develop this radar. And mine was screaming. I told her I was filing for divorce. That was the first time she genuinely looked scared. Not when I cried. Not when I begged for clarity. Not when I suggested separation. Divorce. Consequences made it real. She started crying. Said she made mistakes. Said she was self-sabotaging. Said she needed therapy. Said she didn't want to lose me. And I believe she was scared. But I also realized something important. Fear of losing stability isn't the same as love. If I hadn't caught her, she would still be cheating. If I hadn't pushed, she would still be lying. That's not a marriage. That's a hostage situation with paperwork. For the first time in months, I felt steady. Not happy. Not relieved. Just steady. And that steadiness felt like reclaiming a piece of myself she'd chipped away at for a year. After the final confrontation, things got weirdly quiet. She moved out of our bedroom a few days later, taking her clothes and half of the kitchenware. I didn't stop her. I just watched her go, trying not to feel every little betrayal she left behind. Empty cupboards, missing mugs, and the echo of her laughter that now felt like mockery. I spent the first week walking through the apartment like a ghost. Every corner reminded me of her lies. Every photo on the walls felt like a memory stolen. I couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat much. But I noticed something strange. I wasn't panicking anymore. I wasn't begging for explanations. I just existed. I started journaling. Just the raw thoughts. Anger. Sadness. Confusion. Sometimes I wrote letters I'd never send, telling her exactly how it felt to be treated like my love and trust were expendable. Writing it down made me feel less insane, less trapped. Then came the anger. Real, hot, sharp anger. Not at her, at the situation, at the months I'd spent doubting myself, at the hollow words she threw at me to manipulate my heart. But it was brief. I didn't throw anything. I didn't yell. I just let it pass through me, like a storm leaving a ruined landscape behind. By the second week, I started reconnecting with friends. People I had neglected because I was trying to save a marriage that was already over. I went out, even though I didn't feel like it. Even though seeing happy couples made my chest ache. Little by little, the fog started lifting. I realized something important in all of this. Betrayal doesn't just break your trust in someone else. It breaks your trust in yourself. And reclaiming that trust, in your judgment, your feelings, your instincts, is the first step to actually moving on. I didn't feel whole yet. But I finally felt mine again. By week 3, the reality hit me hard. This wasn't a rough patch anymore. This was a marriage that had been quietly dying while I was blind to it. I met with a lawyer, not out of spite, but to understand my options. The paperwork, the logistics, the financial separation, it felt surreal. I kept thinking, this is my life now. Every detail of our shared life had to be divided, accounted for, and, in some cases, let go. She didn't fight it. Most of the time, she acted like she had already won some moral high ground. She dropped comments like, "I just hope you don't hate me." But I didn't respond. Hate is exhausting. I didn't have the energy. I only wanted clarity, closure, and a chance to rebuild. Meanwhile, I started therapy. I needed someone to help untangle the mess in my head. The anger, the grief, the humiliation, I couldn't process it alone. And honestly, hearing my thoughts out loud, having someone validate that I wasn't crazy or overreacting, made me feel like I was reclaiming myself piece by piece. I realized something vital. I wasn't leaving the marriage for revenge. I was leaving it to protect my self-respect, my mental health, and my future. The betrayal had shown me who she truly was, and no amount of love could fix a person unwilling to be honest. The night I finally told her, "We're done," I felt something I hadn't felt in months: calm. Not relief. Not joy. Calm. Because finally, the decision was mine. Once the divorce papers were signed, a strange emptiness settled in. Not the explosive kind, just a quiet, heavy void. The house felt enormous, every corner echoing memories that were now tainted. I still found myself glancing at her favorite mug or the corner of the couch where she always sat, expecting her to be there. But with the emptiness came clarity. I realized I hadn't lost just her. I had lost a version of myself that was willing to forgive endless lies and make excuses for someone else's selfishness. That version of me had to die so I could survive. Friends, therapy, long walks, and journaling became my anchors. I allowed myself to feel every emotion: betrayal, sadness, rage, disappointment. I cried a lot, and for the first time, I didn't hide it. I didn't apologize for it. I let it exist. Letting it exist was healing. I had dreams about confronting her one last time, but I knew I didn't need to. I didn't want closure from her anymore. I wanted closure for me. That meant accepting what happened, letting go of the illusion of us, and taking back control of my life. By the end of the month, I could sit in the apartment alone and breathe. No lies. No pretending. Just me. Looking back, the entire ordeal was brutal, but it taught me more about myself than I ever expected. 1. Trust your instincts. I ignored red flags for months because I didn't want to believe the truth. Intuition is often your subconscious noticing patterns you haven't fully processed yet. Don't ignore it. 2. Betrayal isn't just about the act. It's the lies, the gaslighting, the emotional manipulation. Even if someone apologizes, their willingness to deceive speaks louder than words. 3. Self-respect comes first. I spent months bending over backward to save a marriage that was already gone. I learned the hard way that love without respect and honesty is toxic. 4. Closure comes from within. You can't rely on the other person to make you feel whole. Acceptance, reflection, and reclaiming your life are what truly heal. 5. Boundaries are life-saving. Once I emotionally separated from her, I finally regained clarity. Emotional boundaries are as crucial as physical ones. The weirdest part? I don't feel bitterness all the time. I feel caution. I feel awareness. And I feel stronger than I ever did when I was clinging to a marriage built on illusions. Here's the final part: how I moved on and what I tell anyone in a similar nightmare. After the dust settled, I focused on rebuilding myself. Simple things first, reclaiming my space, my routines, my hobbies. I started working out again, not to impress anyone, just to feel strong in my own body. I reconnected with friends I'd neglected. I traveled a bit alone, just to remind myself that I could enjoy life on my own terms. I didn't rush into dating. I needed time to trust myself again. Because trust had been shattered, not just in her, but in my judgment, my instincts, my heart. Slowly, that trust started coming back. And here's what I tell anyone going through something similar. You don't have to forgive to heal. Forgiveness is for you, not them. Don't feel pressured to patch a marriage that's clearly broken. Document what you can. Emails, messages, finances. Protect yourself legally and emotionally. Feel everything. Don't bottle it up. Rage, grief, humiliation, it's all part of processing the betrayal. Set boundaries and stick to them. Distance isn't mean, it's necessary. Believe in your future. It's hard when you're in the storm, but life doesn't end with someone else's lies. It just begins differently. It still stings sometimes. I'm not lying, some nights I remember the laughter, the manipulation, the charm that once drew me in. But now, it's just memory. Not a cage. I survived. I reclaimed myself. And the next time someone shows me they aren't trustworthy, I won't doubt my instincts. That's the lesson I'll carry with me forever.